Kia ora everyone, welcome along to our May Connected Plus GEG NZ Spotlight Hangout on Air. I'd like to welcome along our guests tonight, and I'm going to get them to introduce themselves to you, and we're also joined by two of our GEG NZ leaders as well. So I might start with you, Alex. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Kia ora everyone, Alex from Lift Education, and
hello, Neil Pitchers, also from Lift Education, where both Alex and I are former teachers, school administrators, etc. Been in the education, publishing, development business for quite some time now.
hi everyone.
Thanks, Alex and Neil. Anne?
Hi everybody, I'm Anne Batchelor. I'm a Year 5-6 teacher at Alexandra Primary School in Central Otago. It's great to be here.
And Rob?
Kia ora koutou everyone, I'm Rob Clark, teacher and now consultant with Learning Architects based out of Christchurch, so good to be here with you tonight.
Juanita?
Hi everyone, I'm Juanita Garden and I'm one of the APs at Pointingman School.
Thanks, Juanita.
Kia ora, I'm Steph Parker and I teach Year 5 and 6 at Glenbrae Primary, Glen Innes, Auckland.
Thanks everyone. So our focus for tonight is on exploring the Connected Plus series of digital resources and the possibilities. Before we kick off, I'm just going to go through a couple of reminders from the GEG NZ community. First up, we'd just like to welcome along any new listeners tonight or any new members to the community. We've had a real surge in membership over the past month, which is great to see. We're well over 1,000 members in the community. A big focus for us in the past year has been to promote the community and increase the membership via the Hangouts on Air, because we've been able to connect across New Zealand. We're really keen now to support local community members to organise and run their own events locally face-to-face. So if you're keen to host a GEG or Google event in your community or school, we're happy to help. We've got a lot of resources up on the GEG NZ site, and also you can locate their contact details for all the GEG NZ leaders from across the country if you'd like some support to organise your event. A second plug tonight too is for our Google Educator group have organised an inaugural student summit, and this is happening on August 12th. At the moment we have got the site up and running. Links are on the agenda tonight. Actually, you can find the link to tonight's agenda if you haven't already on the event page. We are looking for students who are really keen to share their learning and how innovative ways of using technology to support their learning. We're quite excited with the number of pitches that have come in, especially in the last week. We had the 22nd of May as our close-off date for pitches, but we've been contacted by a few people and asked for a bit more time, which we're happy to do. So we're going to extend that probably at least until the end of the month. So if you're keen to support your students to pitch a session for the Student Summit, the link is on the tonight's agenda, as well as on our in the GEG NZ community. If you've got any questions or you'd like to speak to anyone about the event, please let any of the event organisers know. Their emails and contact details are there on the site. We've also got the Q&A app running tonight. If you've got any questions that you'd like to ask during the Hangout, you'll notice there's a little icon on the top right-hand corner with the Q&A. If you click on that, a screen will open and you need to locate the app icon. Now the app icon in Google is just a set of 9 squares, and that's pretty universal across I think all the Google environment. So if you're looking for apps, locate that 9 squares, click on that, and you'll see the icon for the Q&A app. If you click that, it will open on the right-hand side, and you can post your questions. And Rob will be tracking those, and we'll stop at certain parts during the Hangout and hopefully answer your questions. Okay, so we're going to start first. I'd like to invite Alex to kick us off with Connected, and he's going to be sharing some of this time with Neil as well. Would you like to share your screen, Alex? Or I'll flick to you and then you can share.
Yeah, if you can share, it would be great. Good to go?
Yes, good to go. Thanks, Alex.
Hi, everybody. My name's Alex. I used to work at Learning Media, who used to produce all the materials for the Ministry of Education, School Journal, Connected included. With the demise of Learning Media, Lift Education picked up the contract about 18 months ago, and we've been producing it since then. And that includes the 3 years worth of publications of Connected as a digital resource, and we've called it a Connected Plus mainly because we're using the Google Slides platform to distribute this digital version of it. It's basically the ministry's first dipping their toe in terms of the instructional series as a digital resource. The only other thing digitally available is PDFs of the school journal, which are available on the instructional series website through TKI. They basically chose Google Plus and Google Slides because the developer who we work with was the main suggestion from their point of view was it was a useful way of giving material that could be used more broadly than just a PDF or just a sort of digital version. So part of that is the creation of these. We are using either Creative Commons materials, or they have been given to the ministry to use under a contract, so that students and teachers can make the most use of this material. So what that means is that all the texts, all the images, all the illustrations are available for teachers or students to do what they want with, within reason, as in they basically need to at least acknowledge who these, if there were images or photographs, who they were taken by. But it allows the students to actually mix and mash these. They can take them, they can do what they want with them, share them with others. Teachers can be able to share them as part of a unit of work. They can share them with their syndicate, with their cluster. But it's a way of making more use of the ministry materials rather than just being sort of quite a basic format, such as a PDF. In terms of the IP around this, there are 6 Creative Commons licenses that are available for use. We're only allowed to use one of those for these ministry materials, and that's the CC BY, which is sort of the broadest one in a way. But that's it. That's all we're allowed to use. But that means that that's available for anybody to do what they want with. Any of the others would be more restrictive in terms of that. So yeah, that's where this has come from. We've just done a couple of research reports with Core Education into what a ready-to-read and school journal digital format might look like. They're still sort of working out where they want to go with that in terms of the digital resources, whether it ends up being the Google Slide format or whether it's something else. We're not sure yet. But certainly any feedback that we can get from use of these materials, how teachers and students are using them, we'll absolutely pass on to the ministry, and that will sort of help inform their decisions around this. The one thing that is tricky in the school journal space is social sciences, and that's mainly because it's the history stories, New Zealand stories, quite often need material from a Alexander Turnbull library or the archives, or some of the images might be iwi owned, and how we get the IP clearance to use those materials is somewhat trickier. Yeah, so what I want to do now is I'm just going to pass you on to Neil. Neil's going to talk, but I'm going to share just the access to the Google Slides versions of Connected, just so you can see where they're sitting, and Neil will give you a little bit of information about what's sitting in there, and then Juanita's going to follow us and just talk about how she's used these with some of the students at Point England. I'm just going to share this with you.
So just while Alex is getting that up, we have included the links that through to the site on Literacy Online on the agenda as well. Thanks, Alex.
Okay, can you see this on screen?
Yes, that's looking good.
Okay.
Okay, so hello again. By the way, Anne, I went to Alexandra Primary School. So you know, if my literacy is not up to standard, you know who to blame, but I'm sure it is. It's a very fine little school. So you start off on Literacy Online, zip down to Instructional Series, click on that. You get options for Ready to Read, Junior Journal, School Journal, Story Library, Electronic Storybook, and then you arrive at Connected. There's a bit of a blurb there about the IP that Alex just talked about. It's all available. One of the reasons we did this whole project was to offer models, and if you just make a note, we won't explore it right now, but if you go to the level 3 publication from 2014, where am I? I'm going to talk very briefly about a little article called Counting Kakahi, and it's in level 3. Why is that? And the article is about a scientist doing research into freshwater mussels, and the scientist's interaction with kaumatua and the iwi involved. And there's some brilliant material there, including a graph that is composed of little mussels as the graphic elements to create the numerical message about how many kakahi were found. And this is something that students can emulate. They can look at that and say, wow, as I'm presenting information that I might find in my area, if there's a research project going on in my area that we're going to study, you know, in this case there's a stream, and the scientist is looking at the health of the stream by counting the kakahi in the stream. I've always had a great passion for doing local inquiry or investigation as a result of perhaps learning a model, such as a scientific investigation model, or being stimulated by something I've read or seen to think, okay, what's happening in my area that's similar to that? And so a lot of these articles are models like that. However, we want to go to one that Juanita's going to talk about in a minute. We're going to go to level 2 for 2014. The title of the book is How Do You Know? And underneath it, there's a book called Garden with Science. Just want to point out that there are essentially three things that you get. We're calling this the full bundle of connected IP. So you get three things. You get what's called Google Slides of Gardening with Science with additional content. And I'll talk you through that additional content in a minute. Then you get all the text and images and digital content for reuse. So that's everything in that book, including the fonts, have been licensed for your and your students' reuse if you wish, with certain conditions usually to acknowledge that these were first published somewhere else and now you're using them. The last two dot points are basically the same thing. They're the teacher support materials, one in PDF form and one as a writable Word document. So if you want to use that to make into your own plan for your own teaching, then you can write into that Word document, delete areas, add your stuff, etc., etc. So you'll see that Gardening with Science has got those three elements. It's got the slides with additional content, the images, digital content, and then the TSMs. If you look at the next article, super sensors, and by the way, all of this material is New Zealand material. It contains material about Māori, experiencing success as Māori. It contains diverse New Zealand cultural content, such as the Bledisloe Cup is about a fabulous market gardening couple who work in South Auckland and who are magnificent innovators in horticulture and who won the Bledisloe Cup for their innovation in horticulture. But if we come back to super sensors, you'll see super sensors is slightly different in that it says Google Slides of super sensors. So you have the book as a Google Slides digital book, but it doesn't have the additional content. And that's basically a budgetary thing. For the budget that Connected has, we do 3 levels, level 2, 3, 4. We do 4, 5 or 6 articles or pieces in each one. That they align with the science capabilities that were published by the Ministry and New Zealand Council for Education Research. They include technology curriculum material. They include mathematical curriculum material. They include literacy ideas and literacy activities. We have a advisory group that meet and guide us, and that we bounce everything off, and we have on that activity, on that advisory group, some teachers who share some of this material with their students. So there's a pretty decent process for bringing this New Zealand material together. So you'll see then under super sensors, Alex is just taking you through actually Gardening with Science, because Juanita's going to talk about how students at Point England responded to this with what I think is the most amazingly innovative and clever and fun and excellent set of learning activities where they extended this. So he's taking you into the additional material now, and you'll see there's a video there. There's a series of maps, and there's a lot of material in this. These maps, Juanita might talk a little bit about some of the information, some gorgeous visuals. Look at this material that could be used in all sorts of ways in student compositions, in summarizing or rewriting or synthesizing this text, or comparing with your own area. I mean, we don't have anything like that cabbage patch in Central Otago as far as I know, and away we go. Also included in this additional material is a full audio of the text. And for those of you that are working in schools where some students are struggling to read independently, here it is, struggling to read independently at their curriculum level, this is there's well-researched evidence to show that listening to a good narration of the text and reading the text along supports that student's development of fluency. So that's a very nice addition. Just keep going, Alex. Alex has given me the elbow to show, yeah, we should also show you the links here. So there are links to a whole lot of other materials that were created. So what we're doing actually is making the publishing or development process very transparent. We often find these links in the process of creating a journal, and they generally don't get published in this way. So here they are for teachers to do deeper investigation, and if they're suitable for students, if they're within the student's capability to read and use. So that's the full digital support that happens with one article in each publication, but all of the articles in each publication have the Google Slides, and several have the teacher support material. So I mean, I think that orients you to the series. There are in this particular little bundle, there are level 2, level 3, level 4, and you'll see it all laid out there on the page. I don't think I need to say much more, really, do I? Let's have any questions if you have them.
Okay, thanks, Neil. That's awesome. And Alex, I think probably one of the key things that I'm noticing while I'm looking at these is just how much time. Often, teachers are saying time is one of the things in terms of locating and finding really good quality resources, especially digital resources that are relevant to learners in New Zealand. And I think just looking at what you've shown there, we can see straight away you've done a lot of the legwork for teachers and actually bringing all those together in the one place. That's awesome. Any questions from the Q&A app? There weren't any just before we went live. I'm just wondering if anyone's nothing.
No, we haven't got any at the moment. Remember, if you're watching this at home, there is a little icon in the top right corner of the video that you can click that says Q&A, and click on that, and then you get the option to ask a question.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Okay, so I'm just going to flip the screen over to Juanita. Here we go, Juanita, and I'll let you go for that, and you'll be sharing your own screen.
Yes. Okay, good to go. Okay. Hi. Okay, just to give you an idea of where I'm talking from, Point England is a Decile 1 school, and so Connected hasn't been. They've been sitting on our shelves for a while, to be honest, and it's taken the Plus to come along, I think, to give us the support that we need for our students. So I'm just going to share my screen here. Hopefully this is going to work. It's not coming. Okay. Can you see that? Has that come up? Has that screen shared?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'll
give it a moment.
It's still coming.
Yeah, the screen is shared, Juanita. What you need to do is once you've shared it, actually bring up your presentation. Yeah. So you won't be able to see the Hangout. You have the presentation on top.
Got that. Okay. So these books have been sitting on our shelves mainly because of the specific content in them. Some of the students have found them really hard to access. But now, online, they come, especially with the full bundle, they come with a whole lot of extra scaffolds that has really helped them access it. So I'm just going to show you a couple of examples of some activities from the text that Alex and Neil shared with you, Garden with Science. Okay. So what's really great for our kids is that they can listen to the audio. So they may not be able to read independently, they might need quite a lot of scaffolding and support with the text, but they can always go and listen to the audio file that's on there. And here is
sorry, Juanita, did you want to have your slideshow up on the screen?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. So Rob, do you want to flick it up, or shall I do that?
Has it not come up? Sorry.
Do you want to try again?
Yeah.
Click the screen share, the green one.
Yeah.
And then can you click behind to your...
Yeah.
Okay, can you bring your... That's it, perfect.
Got it this time. Oh, good.
There we go, you're right now.
Okay, so here's an example of an activity that some of the students did following this text. You can see here that we've used the text straight out of the folder at the back. The folder with all the resources includes not just photos and extra photos and videos, but also a really easy to use version of the text. So in this activity, this was all around vocab, okay, and the students had to highlight words that we came across and put it into a Padlet, and I'm hoping this is going to come up for you. So here's an example of Kura's Padlet showing the words that we came over. Now this is obviously a great activity to do as a group, and then you get a resource that all the students in the group share all the words there, but this is just an individual one that she's published on her blog. Okay. Then here's another one. Now you might have seen before, I think Neil showed you that there were a lot of charts and there were maps and charts behind the text, just another form of literacy. And this activity, the students had to look at these maps and describe the climate where they lived. Now I've just realised that there are a lot of people living down the bottom here, so just have a little read at that. I apologise, I'm from the bottom as well, but here's what I think it was Lacelli said. Yeah, it's much nicer than the bottom. We don't all agree with that, I know. Okay. Now this example is where some students they collaboratively wrote on a doc an interview. The article talks about science and gardening, and the kids were talking about, well, who knows most, gardeners or scientists? So we wrote scripts, and I think I've got an example here of a little movie. This is a one-shot movie, so on an iPad, they don't get a second take, so that there are little bits and pieces in here that aren't quite right. It's just like a live presentation, and I'm hoping this is going to...
Hello, my name is Vanolia, and I'm going to interview a gardener and a scientist, and I will test who is the best at growing plants. So Gardener Green, how do you experiment with soil? I try growing different kinds of plants in different spots. I do too. I also get compost from Bunnings. Now stop fighting, you two. Gardener Green, what kind of plants do you grow? I live in Dunedin, and I can grow big carrots because it likes cold climates. Professor Potato, how come you are so smart about plants?
Okay, so I'll stop that there. There are a couple of links on the agenda to students' blogs, and you can have a little look at what they've done there. The next activity I'm going to share with you, this is in the olden days we used to have problem pages like an agony aunt in magazines. Now they're online, so this is a modern version of an agony aunt. The students were experts on gardening. Okay, so this is a slide at the beginning of their task shared on the site, which I'll show you in a minute. And it has a template that they fill in. So I'll just take you through this quickly because this is on the presentation, and we'll click onto a student's example here. Let's have a look at this one. Here's Lacelli's advice column. Just make it big for you so you can see. Okay, so she's a gardening expert after reading Garden with Science. And this is the problem that I shared with the group. Okay, key point there is that Sally's in Auckland and her nan lives in Dunedin. And here's his answer. Okay, so as gardening experts, they were able to reply. Okay. So there's a few examples of how I used that text. We find them great, not just for supporting, but also they're good for extending students because they come with all the extra scaffolds, especially the full bundle. So yeah, we're looking forward to this year's ones coming out.
Hey, Juanita.
Yes.
It's Rob here. Hey, we've got a question from our audience from Justine. The question is, do you recommend having the books in hard copy to support in class alongside the digital, or are they only digital now? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, when I'm taking a guided session, I often work with a hard copy, but having them online and on the site allows the students to access them at home when they don't have the text, and they seem to flick between both. Actually, I'll flick onto our, as my presentation still up there, I'll just flick onto the site.
You need to get rid of that guy that you were just showing.
Okay. So here is a site for Year 5s and 6s, and here's the Garden with Science there, and you can see where we've linked to the text, the audio. Obviously that's already at the back of the text there. It's got their activity, which was their advice column. It's got a link to a text that we also referred to, and this is the one that Neil referred to too, Winning the Betters Low Cut, because it runs along similar horticultural lines, the video. So students can access this from home, and they've got the text on there whenever they like. So I like working especially with readers up to about 10-year reading level with a hard copy, but they've also got access to this. Okay.
Thank you. I think the other interesting thing too is that not only is it the kids have got such a high level of interactivity on this, with the content too, because they've got control over creating new parts to it, haven't they?
Well, that suits our pedagogy, really, that we learn, create, share, and with the access to resources that they can use themselves, that supports that they can learn through creating and using the photos and mixing them up as they wish to show their learning.
Thanks, thanks, Juanita. Can you stop presenting now? If you just click your screen sharing stop. Yep.
Yep.
It's fabulous. Thanks for that. I think probably again too, it's just really highlighting. I think the key word for me there from you was that access. You know, the whole for us, a lot of the focus for us around the digital learning environment is extending the learning outside the 9 to 3, and so being able to access these resources online outside of school time is really valuable. And also in terms of accessing for teachers as well, to make life a little bit easier when it comes to sharing and creating those resources for the site. It's awesome. Any other questions, Rob, for Juanita?
No, there's a comment, and the comment is that brilliant resources that I'll be sharing their weekly brief. Thank you so much for sharing. And another comment is that there is great vision and great support.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so we're going to move along to Steph now. I'm going to share Steph's presentation. I'll just get back onto here and bring that up. Okay, there we go, Steph.
Awesome, thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
First, I'm echoing a bit.
Keep going and we'll see how we go.
Okay.
I might actually, I'll mute myself.
All right. So, I put together acronym for why I use Connected. Learn, basically the links. It's expandable, accessible, relevant topics, and it's here and now. So obviously links to the curriculum, but also, as Juanita showed, there's sort of multiple learning experiences throughout the one text. Expandable, as you showed with the audio that you can access with it, the different add-ons in the back of the article, and again, multiple learning objectives that you can use within that one text. It's very accessible. The students can sort of reread it and re-listen to it after school. They don't have to sort of take the hard copy home. And also, if I need more copies, the example I'm going to show I used with the whole class. So, you know, everyone could have a copy of it rather than, you know, usually only get a set of sort of 8. Relevant topics. So last year, the example, we were looking at making waves, the ocean, and so we used the Rena oil spill one. And also it's right there, you know, the glossary is there, the images, and all the links to the further learning as well. So if you want to flick to that next slide, Fiona. Next slide. Thank you. So I used the Connected series with the Rena after the spill text. I did it as a whole class text, and obviously worked with the different groups throughout it, and we just had these same discussion questions as we went. One of the questions, about 4th one down, what is a rahui? And in the back of the text was a very short video that had been linked that explained that and put it into different contexts. A few kids also then found more books on that in the library, and so we sort of got to explore all of that through talking about the text. And once we'd all read it together, we then moved on to some of the other activities. So you just want to flick to the next one there. We use this as a thinking skills template. So we talked about, you know, just to sort of mind map it all, what were the short-term, long-term effects, and then we used De Bono thinking hats at Glenbrae. So sort of talked about all those sort of things, including sort of covering all the vocab that was quite new, similar to Juanita Decile 1. So a lot of the content hasn't necessarily been accessible before. But once we'd all covered it, we all had a basic understanding. And if you flick to the next one, Fiona, we had an opportunity for the groups to sort of mix up a bit, and everybody got to pick what they were more interested in. So this is half of the sort of scaffold that we gave them, and there were a bunch of probing questions underneath as well. And students got to choose the way that they wanted to display what they'd learned. So the press conference one, that they had to pick sort of four people to interview. It could be the local iwi, the scientists, the council, some of the local residents from the beach. The following one was the animals and the biodiversity, and in the back of the text was a really awesome food web that had sort of showed the way that the oil travelled, and so they got to use that and then sort of created their own food web as well. The reenactment, trying to make a little movie to show how it had happened, and some chose to just explore other oil spills and similar incidents. And then the final one wasn't quite as popular, but learning about the effects and cleanup of an oil spill. And again, we had all the different sort of probing questions to help them with that, but what was good about it was it sort of mixed up the groups and got them all thinking about things in a different way and working with different people and giving them that power of choice in terms of what they produced from it. So a more current example I've got, if you want to flick to the next one. We read Gray's Angel. Now this one is only on the PDF version at the moment, but I think it was published last year, June 2014, and with Anzac Day just happening, we were researching the war. However, everyone was at school, so I don't know how many copies of the textbook Connected Journal we had, but by the time I got to the resource room, they were all gone, so it was quite great to have the PDF article which all of the students could access and explore through that. But they got to create, and there's a link there to, if you've got access to the doc, there's a link to Louisa's map where she made a timeline of the journey throughout the text. So they had to really in-depth read it and sort of then follow the map and create the journey and also learn a lot about the world at the same time. So it was quite a good project. It would have been interesting to see what sort of things would have been added had it been the full digital copy, but we made do with the PDF one. So it was quite a useful activity, that one.
Steph, can I ask a question from Jack T from our audience?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The question is, do you share the text into children's Google accounts or only post share through blogs and sites?
I generally share it through the site and make it, accessible to anyone with the link, so they can all access it that way. They all have access to the site, and that's how they access all of their learning. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, and thanks Jack T for asking that question.
Okay, no more questions here at the moment, Rob? Okay, thanks,
Sorry,
Steph.
We've got a number of comments.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so thanks, Steph. Probably again too, the impact there from looking at your example is the multiple opportunities that the students can take for their learning. And I think really taking advantage of the affordances of the technology to enable that, even if it was just a PDF through linking in the Google Maps as well. It's awesome. So both Stephanie and Juanita, there's links in there too. Will include to their schools and their sites, but also. They've got all their students have an individual blog as well, and you would have noticed that Bonita shared some links up there, and we'll put your class blogs up too, Steph, as well. If you've got time and opportunity, I'd really encourage you to link through to the students' blogs and leave some comments for them, especially in response to the learning that they've been experiencing through the Connected Plus. Also, if you have any questions after the Hangout event, we'll be posting this into the Google Plus community, and you feel free to add questions in the comments or on the event page, and we'll ensure that whoever the question is for, that they're alerted to that in the community. I'm just going to. Yep.
I've got another really good question. I think it's from Jack T. If we don't have a Google site, how could we share this? Just via a document?
Okay, I have some ideas for that. Would Steph or Juanita, would you like to respond? If you don't, so the question was, if you don't have, sorry, I'm just checking again with that, Rob, if they don't have a Google site or if they don't have Google Apps for Education.
No, it was just if they don't have a Google site, how could we share this? And the idea was, could it perhaps just be shared via a Google Doc? So, Steph, what do you reckon?
Do they have desktops or iPads, or what are they viewing through?
Don't know, I'm afraid. If the person that asked that question wants to give us a bit more information, we'll come back. We'll circle back to it, eh?
Yeah, what I'm thinking is that, you know, if you're wanting to share digital content with your students and you don't use a site of some sort, there'd be other ways that you could share. For example, you might make the document public and then maybe share the link to it. But then the next question is, how are they going to access that link? I mean, the quickest way for them to access it is via something like a site. You can give them the URL, the shortened URL to a Google Doc would be the best thing.
Or a blog.
Yeah, or the blog. Well, yeah, when I think sharing it through a site would be, you know, like a site or a blog, either or. Yeah, that would work.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Okay. So we're just coming near the end here. We're going to finish off shortly. Just before we finish off, was there anything, Alex, Neil, Juanita, Steph, that you'd like to add?
The only thing, Dan, Alex here, the only thing from me is on that initial instructional series page, when you click onto the connected, for those of you that are coming to it for the first time, there is a doc there that you can link to that gives you all the instructions about working with the Google Slides and how to use them and the best way to approach it. So if you're coming to it fresh, I'd say just go to that in the first instance, and there's quite a bit of support within that document. And the only other thing is, Neil mentioned it earlier, these connecteds are directly linked to the science capabilities, the 5 capabilities which link to the nature of science. So while a lot of material previously has been about the strands, the living world or the physical world, this is very much about what it is to be a scientist and the nature of being a scientist. At the moment, the latest ones that we're producing, which will be up in about November, are about critiquing evidence. So those initial ones are about gathering data and making use of it. This is about critiquing your own evidence as a scientist, but also the evidence of other people. So it's quite a useful one, and I was speaking to some teachers at Seatoun School in Wellington the other day, and they're doing, they got the science fair coming up, and they absolutely sort of saw some real benefit in using these to support them with that. So much that they asked me to stop talking and kick me out and said, we want to get on with the planning right now, so which is great. Yeah, that's it for me.
Thanks, Alex. That's awesome. We'll look out definitely in November. I think probably one of the things here for us to think about too is that the more that we use these resources as educators and enable our students to access them, I think probably the more potentially we could support them, the more likely that we'll get these resources developed faster and in greater quantities, especially really good quality, high quality New Zealand resources.
Agreed.
Okay, so okay, so I'd just like to say thanks so much both to Alex and Neil for joining us and sharing the links through to the resources and where they can be accessed on Literacy Online. Another thing too is I was just thinking then when you were talking about the copyright and Creative Commons, are really another opportunity for teachers to use the content here to teach the smart media. If you're teaching a cyber smart learning with your students and integrating that into existing programs of learning. And especially a big thanks to Winter and Steph for joining us this evening from Point England and Glenbrae School. Really great to see the learning from the students and how it's being shared, and hope that you get some increased traffic through to your blogs too in response to that. Thank you very much. I'm just going to finish off this evening, just going to pop up a slide just to give one little plug again to our for our New Zealand Student Summit. Yes, it's on 12th of August, and we're looking for, at the moment, we're looking for pictures from students who are keen to present. If you just can access the summit pretty much anywhere in the GEG NZ community, or just there's the short bit.ly GEG NZ Summit. Most of the information we think we've covered is on the site, but please, we encourage you to contact us if you have any questions. We're really looking forward to this event, and think it's going to be lots of fun, as well as some lots of good learning, especially just looking at some of the pictures that have already come in. So with that, unless there's anything else from Rob or Anne, we might say good evening.
Yeah, well done.
Okay. Okay, thanks everyone, and just look out on the events page in the GEG NZ community for our next hangout on here. Thanks everyone. Ka kite anō.